What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We got a patch yesterday, as you all know. A bunch of people have covered it. General fixes to the game that they mentioned, like they fixed the stim glitch. Apparently, they adjusted the timings of ammo replenishment, so the Black Ops Cold War weapons now reload correctly when they're supposed to, which has been a very annoying problem since the start. I know some people have tested that, and that looks like that is true. But they don't mention anything about weapon balance. And turns out that this was a huge hidden weapon balance patch for at least the Black Ops Cold War weapons. I have not tested any of the Modern Warfare weapons yet, but I was just streaming and a bunch of people came into my stream and were saying the M16 had a huge bullet velocity nerf. And, I get messages about people thinking things have changed all the time, but usually it's not six people claiming the same thing in the same stream from completely different sources. Like, these people didn't know each other. They all just came in and said that themselves. So at that point, I was sure that something had been changed. So I ended the stream, went and tested a bunch of stuff, and turns out that bullet velocity has been completely reworked on the barrels for a lot of the guns. And it's going to completely change the balance of the guns and which barrel you should be using. And I haven't tested everything, but I've tested a few guns, and results are pretty consistent for most of them. So I'll jump into it and show you guys all the numbers. But one quick note before we get into that, I'm approaching the 100K subs mark, and I think that's an awesome goal for me to try to reach. I'm gonna be pushing really hard for that. I'm gonna be putting out a lot of videos in the next few weeks. I want to thank you guys for getting me where I am, and I wanted to ask for some help to get to 100K. So if you like the content I'm putting out, subscription would be super appreciated. I think it's roughly like 50 to 60% of people aren't subscribed that watch my videos. So it doesn't hurt you, helps me. So if you like the stuff I'm doing, I'd really appreciate that. But let's jump into the actual numbers of the changes for the guns that I tested it on. All right, so since I heard from so many people that the M16 felt like it had way slower bullet velocity, I went and checked that first. And because I was checking the M16, I just made a video on the M16 and the AUG. I thought, well, what the heck, I'll just check the AUG at the same time, because I figured if they changed the M16, they probably also changed the AUG. So we'll go over the results now. So the previous bullet velocities for the M16 are in this column here, and for the AUG here, and then the new bullet velocities for the barrels are in the new column. So for the rapid fire barrel, it used to give 23% boost to bullet velocity. Now it does not do anything. So the change between previous patch and the current game was 23% reduction. But basically, the rapid fire barrel just doesn't increase bullet velocity anymore. Cavalry Lancer barrel didn't change at all with the patch, so it still increases by 53%. Strike Team did not change either, so Strike Team stayed at 53% increase. Titanium barrel went from having the biggest bullet velocity increase at 85% down to 0%, so it does nothing now. It's just like using no barrel for bullet velocity. Match grade and task force both did not change. So the only one that the big change is that we used to say use the titanium barrel, so now that does nothing. So I wouldn't use that. It increases your fire rate, but there's other barrels that do that. So now 100% the barrel to use on the M16 is the Strike Team. We don't have the bullet velocity we used to have. You used to be able to get up to like 1300, 1350 bullet velocity with the titanium and an agency suppressor. And now with the Strike Team and an agency suppressor, you can only get up to like 1175. So it's still fast. I mean, 1175 is still good. And it's still going to be a very good gun. It's just not quite as good as it was before. But why wasn't this in the patch notes? Why would they not tell us that they were tweaking the attachments? I mean, it's just crazy. I think this was a huge rework to the game, or to the Cold War weapons that we just don't know about, and I'll show you why I think that as we go through some of the other things I tested. But I think this was a huge hidden balancing patch for the Cold War weapons. But let's jump down to the AUG real fast. So same exact story here. Basically, the big changes were the first barrel, the rapid fire barrel, went from having a 36% increase to not having any increase at all anymore. The titanium barrel went from having a 100% increase down to 0% increase, so it doesn't do anything now. So again, on the AUG, you want to use the Strike Team 100% of the time now. Has the most bullet velocity, and it has that fast fire rate. So definitely recommend the Strike Team over the titanium now. So as I was testing, I was actually testing like on live stream with people. So I just decided to keep going and test a little bit more. People kind of helped me decide what to test. So I tested the DMR and the FFAR for any changes to bullet velocity from what they used to be before the patch. So With the FFAR, basically everything that increased bullet velocity still increases bullet velocity, just more now. So the reinforced heavy got a 26% boost, went from 27% increase to 53% increase. Ranger went from a 57% increase to an 89% increase. So the Ranger gives you insane bullet velocity now. Takedown went from 15 to 25%. Task Force went from adding 38% to adding 54%. So for me, 100%, I'm still using the Task Force because I like the way the Task Force narrows up that recoil. I didn't do any damage testing, so I didn't do any damage profile testing. I don't doubt that there were changes to damage in this patch because it seems like they changed a ton of stuff to me. So I'm probably going to do another huge community test coming up soon just to try to reconfirm all the damage profiles of all the weapons because it takes forever if I do it myself. So what I'm going to do is just have another community test soon where we test every weapon again. And then the DMR got some changes as well. Very similar to the changes that the M16 and the AUG had. The rapid fire barrel went from minus 28, or went from adding 28% to 0%. So it doesn't do anything now. The titanium went from adding the most at 69% increase to adding nothing. So it goes to not helping at all. So no longer would you use the titanium on the DMR. You're going to want to use the cavalry barrel now because you really need that bullet velocity. So for the DMR, I'd recommend the cavalry barrel. And then for the FFAR, I still am going to use the task force barrel, definitely. That's just me personally, though. So if you want maximum bullet velocity, now you're going to want to use the Ranger, which got even faster. So, oh, and one thing to note, I forgot to say this. I didn't actually have the bullet velocities for the DMR, so I pulled these from JGod's spreadsheet. So thank you, JGod, if you're watching. This was useful to have because I hadn't tested them yet myself. All right, so a couple other things that I tested just quickly before I got off stream. The task force barrels on SMGs. Some people were saying that they felt like they had a bunch more recoil now, when in the past, when I tested them, they literally did not have an effect on vertical recoil at all. So I went in and tested that, and it looks like that was not correct. They still don't affect your vertical recoil at all. They still do seem to tighten up the horizontal a little bit, just like it does on the FFAR, but there's no effect on vertical recoil whatsoever. And then I also tested the rear grips for ADS because, they don't really do much. I do actually think they do something. The more I test it, the more I play with the grips, they do something, but it's a very, very small amount. So on the SMGs, it's literally so small that I can't consistently see it at 240 FPS. And then on the LW3, since it has 560 milliseconds of ADS time or something like that, I don't remember the exact number, but it's really high. Even though the grip does a small amount, I can see it on the LW3. So the Serpent Wrap reduced by 16 milliseconds on the LW3. So I think they do actually do something. I think it's just a very small amount. And because the ADS times on the SMGs are so small already, it's virtually nothing on the SMGs. So that's very annoying. I really wish they would fix that because it kind of makes it awkward to build Cold War guns, not being able to slow or speed up your ADS time at all. And then I didn't actually test it, but I heard that they fixed the XM4 and AK-47, the Cold War AK-47 barrels bullet velocities. So I think this was mostly a bullet velocity tweaking patch. I don't know why they didn't tell us they did this, but I think they rebalanced all the bullet velocities for the Cold War guns. So I think they fixed the XM4 and the Cold War AK-47. I'm sure that will be tested by either JGod or myself or Exclusive Ace or Drifter or somebody in the next few days, and we'll know better. But obviously I'm going to test all this myself eventually. I just don't know if I'll get to that first before they do. So we'll see coming soon whether or not that was actually fixed, but I'm pretty sure it was. So those are the things I found. All right, so a quick summary. It looks like the bullet velocities for all the Cold War guns has been dramatically changed without them mentioning it in the patch notes at all, because that's definitely not an important thing for your players to know. And I'm going to cover all the changes over time, but for now, I got the M16, AUG, FFAR, and DMR done. Task Force barrels did not get affected at all by the patch. They still don't have any recoil changes for the SMGs. I didn't actually test the FFAR, but the FFAR felt exactly the same as it has before to me. I used it in our custom lobbies all night tonight. Rear grips on the ADS changes didn't get changed at all. They still don't seem to do very much at all. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I found. Again, if you guys like the stuff I'm doing, I'm pushing really hard for 100k subs right now. So if you like the stuff I'm doing, a sub would be massively appreciated. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Hope you have a good day.